All right, so stroke and turn training. We're going to breeze through this stuff quickly. We're going to talk about the stroke and turn in general, how to make the call and complete the DQ slip, so a few logistics, and then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of all the possible ways you can DQ a breaststroker and anyone else. So jump into stroke and turn. The roles, you've got a meet director who's the head honcho. You've got the starters, there's a scorer, there's a timers, and then there's the stroke and turn officials. The role of the stroke and turn judge is to provide a safe, fair, and equitable condition for competition. Your objective is not to catch violators. That's not your role. Your role is to observe, pay attention to what you're watching, and if you see an infraction, then you complete a DQ. Observe and report. And the number one rule that goes through all of it is the swimmer always gets the benefit of the doubt. If there's uncertainty, or I know I saw it, but was it her or him, which lane, it's not a DQ. The benefit of the doubt goes to the swimmer. All right, what is the benefit of the doubt? If you're not sure what you saw, then it's no DQ. But here's an example. So on the breaststroke finish, the swimmer has to touch with two hands simultaneously. And it's okay if one hand is above the water, one hand's below the water. Maybe they're both below the water. Maybe they're both above. That's okay. But so in this scenario, you see him come in, you see one hand up here, but you don't see the other hand down below. If you don't actually see that hand underneath not touch, then it's not a DQ. I mean, you have to actually see it. And the fact that you didn't see it, it's not the fault of the swimmer, and you don't have to worry about it. I just couldn't tell. So I'm not going to call a DQ because it very well could have been that a finger brushed or it was a nice, clean, duplicate touch. So if you don't actually see what you think the infraction is, then there's no infraction. Okay, key points to remember. One set of rules applies to every swimmer, no matter their age or their ability level. If it's a DQ, it's a DQ. If it's not, it's not. We don't judge style. No matter what the swim looks like, if there's not something you see that's an infraction, then there's no DQ. We're not judging style. We're just reporting infractions. And infractions don't have to be repeated. If there's a single breaststroke kick that's not done correctly, and you both of the judges see it, you don't have to think, well, gosh, are they going to repeat it or not? If it's an infraction, it's an infraction. You only observe and report infractions for your assigned lanes. So you're on one side of the pool, other judges on the other side of the pool. You've got your 3 or 4 lanes, and that's it. Don't worry about what you're seeing on the other side. Give equal time to all lanes so that no swimmer is watched more than the other. You need to be looking at all 3 of your lanes and scanning back and forth. That is your job as a swim official, is to create that equitable setup. And that includes empty lanes. Be conscious of hovering over the swimmer in the lane closest to you. So this is you've got a little map, you got up the pool, 3 lanes. On this side, these 2 officials are watching these 3 lanes. On the other side of the pool, 2 officials are watching those 3 lanes. So I'm standing here and I've got my lanes, and here comes Janie in lane 6 and doing that breaststroke, and I'm not exactly sure what's happening at those feet. So then I just stand right over the top of Janie, and oh man, now I see it. There's an element of unfairness there in doing that, because they happen to be in the lane closest to you. You're looking at them in a way that you cannot do with the other 2 lanes, and you really need to be conscious of that. We do want to look and act professionally too. I know, it's summer league or whatever, but when you're up there, don't try to stay away from the cell phone, and just to allow yourself to stay focused on your lanes. Be supportive of everyone and minimize cheering for one swimmer or team. And when it's my son in the water, you want to cheer, but really it's not appropriate. As a stroke and turn, you really should be focusing on your lanes. Very unlikely to ever arise, but don't ever argue with coaches or parents. So key points. We are going to, as we're doing this and these issues arise, whatever they are, even the night before, holy cow, what did I agree to do? Just breathe and relax. It's going to be okay, and it's such a great job that you're doing. It's really important, all these different roles. Be a good partner with your fellow judge. So we're making the call, and this is on your sheet here, and it's just simple. What did you see? Am I certain about what I saw? Did I see one hand not touch? Did you both see it? If you didn't both see it, no DQ. And then, what is the infraction? If there's ever any question about it, it's okay to, like I was in my scenario I mentioned, we both know what we saw, but we're not sure about it. Get somebody else involved. That's okay. And then this is really important. completely and legibly fill out the DQ slip. And then once that's done, you've got a runner, you're going to give that DQ slip to the runner because it gets over there and they enter it. If there's questions, it can come back to you while you're still there. So one judge from each team, you've got your 2 judges are on one side of the pool and the same thing on the other side of the pool. Both sides of the pool should have a similar viewing access. So this scenario, like with the Balcones Woods pool, there's a diving pit that starts like right there. And so the officials on that side can only walk that far. So for this side, they need to limit themselves to that same amount of side pool access. And then you only report infractions in your assigned lanes. False starts, as a stroke and turn official, you don't have to worry about that. That's totally the starters. It's on your DQ slip, but that's not you, that's the starters only who do that. The bottom of the pool and the ropes, it's okay for the swimmer to touch the bottom of the pool. Or even, a little guy, it's okay if they even stood on the bottom of the pool. They cannot walk or push off the pool. That's really the key thing. And on the ropes, same thing, it's okay to hang, but as soon as they give it a tug, that's propelling and that's a DQ. So freestyle, this rarely comes up, but it is a rule. The head must surface before the 15-meter mark. In our 25-yard or 25-meter pools, there's a mark of where 15 meters is. Now, they have to come up before the 15-meter mark. They start here, they're jumping in, that's 15-meter mark. Some pools may not be marked as well, or marked differently, so you want to be clear on what that is. With the freestyle event, that's right, they can do whatever they want. So those little 6-year-olds who are only doing that stroke, they can do whatever they want. And then, and they have to touch the wall to finish. Yeah. All right, so then you've got your little section of the DQ slip. You have consciously and thoroughly filled out your top section with the events and the lanes and the team, and you're going to just check the box. What do we have? So it's freestyle. They failed to touch on the turn, so they're doing a 50. They do their turn. They have to touch the wall on the turn. And if they don't touch the wall, that's a DQ. Backstroke. In a lot of ways, backstroke is just like freestyle. It's pretty wide open, but with a couple of things that aren't. So you start on the back, facing the blocks. Same deal about the 15-meter mark. You got to break the surface, the 15-meter mark. Must be on the back throughout the race, except during the turn. And what does being on the back mean? That means that their shoulders and chest are at 90 degrees or past towards the back. So if it's right at 90, that's not a DQ. They need to be towards the breast for it to be a DQ. So at 90 degrees and to the back, they have to be during the backstroke. And arms and legs and hands, no special rules. They can be doing whatever they want. There's nothing about kicking or stroking in the backstroke. It's just being to the back. So for the turn, the swimmer can turn towards the breast. It's okay if they just touch the wall and turn around, push off, and go the other way and never flip over. That's okay. But what's also okay is they're coming towards the wall and they turn and they go past vertical towards the breast, getting ready to touch the wall. That's legal to do that. What comes in then, once that occurs, after turning to the breast, they can only do one arm pull. So I do the same thing. I'm reaching and I pull that arm and I go into the wall for my turn. That's fine, I can do that. Or I can turn to the breast with one hand and pull with 2 arms, as long as it's simultaneously. That's the one arm pull. So once they turn to the breast, they can have a single arm or a simultaneous one double arm pull. But what's not legal on that is, I turn, now I'm towards the breast and I've pulled that arm down, and then I pull the other arm down. If I pull this arm down when I'm past vertical to the breast, that's a second arm pull when I do this arm, and that's a DQ. That doesn't come up very often, but it is. When they turn, it needs to be only one stroke. You turn, now I'm towards the breast. It's okay if I realize, oh crap, I'm still 15 feet from the wall. If I just keep on, I can't do another stroke, but I could glide into the wall or I could kick into the wall, and that's okay. After the turn, so now I'm coming to the wall, I've glided or I've not glided, I'm doing my turn. I can do whatever I want with my turn, bucket turns or whatever, but as soon as I push off, and the moment my feet leave the wall, heading back the other way, I need to be at or past vertical towards the back. And if I'm like this and I'm pushing off and I'm towards the breast, that's a DQ. They have to be at or past vertical towards the back when their feet leave the wall. And then when they finish, they also have to finish on their back. When I'm going into the wall, I can't turn and touch. I've got to go all the way to the wall. I've got to be to the back. So we checked the boxes, didn't finish on back, extra strokes, not extra kicks, extra strokes on the stomach, once they're going into the turn. And then they were turned to the stomach after leaving the wall. Butterfly. It's a forward start, 15-meter mark. They have to break the surface. Chest, shoulders, same rule, but enter pass vertical to the breast, not to the back. They have to be enter pass vertical to the breast after the start and after the turn. So when their feet leave the wall and man, they're just chucking along, if they're to the back, that's a DQ. As many kicks as desired at start. So I've jumped in, I'm doing my dolphin kicks. I can do as many kicks as I want to while I'm still underwater. I can only do one arm pull. And when I do that arm pull, it has to bring me to the surface. All right, and then it's the dolphin kick. And so the dolphin kick, it's the 2 feet moving together. Up and down motion of the legs must be simultaneous, but not necessarily at the same level. And what that same level part means is I'm butterflying and I've got my 2 legs. These are my legs. One leg is a little bit like this, but they're moving exactly together. That's still legal, and that's the dolphin kick. What's not legal is, as soon as they do a scissor, that's not the dolphin kick anymore. They're not moving simultaneously in the same motion. So no alternating kick, no scissor kick, no breaststroke kick either, because that's kicking out and they're not moving simultaneously. Arms must pull and recover simultaneously. So I do my pull, I can't do this. My arms have to move together. And then when I recover, my arms have to move together simultaneously. So both arms and hands must come forward over the water. So I pull however I want to. I'm pulling down. When I'm pulling back, I've got to get my arms out of the water when I'm doing that. And an underwater recovery, that's I'm bringing my arms forward. If I bring my arms forward under the water for any reason, if my arms are under the water, that's illegal on the butterfly. When they do that stroke and they're coming back like this and they realize they're a little bit from the wall and they do a little thing like this to get to the wall, they pulled, which is okay, but they went back and their arms are still underwater. That's an underwater recovery, and that's actually a DQ. Simultaneous 2-hand touch on turns and that finish. With a butterfly, when your hands come in, they have to touch the wall at the same time. So if I touch and then I touch, that's not a simultaneous touch, and it's a DQ. If I touch one hand up high and one hand down low, that's okay, it doesn't matter. They just have to touch the wall at the same time. All right, so we're on breaststroke. All right, so it's a forward start, same thing like butterfly, chest and shoulders have to be to the breast when they leave the wall, can't be to the back. At start and after each turn, the head must break the surface of the water before the hands turn inward at the widest part of the second stroke. I'm going to hit each one of these and then let's talk through this whole process. The head must break the surface during each cycle. The stroke cycle, unlike with butterfly, is one arm pull followed by a breaststroke kick. So one arm pull and 2 breaststroke kicks is a DQ. All arm movements, pulls must be horizontal to the water surface and be simultaneous. So I'm doing my pull. I mean, if I'm like this pulling, they're not horizontal coming down. For the butterfly, that's okay what these arms are doing. But in the breaststroke, when they're pulling down, they have to be horizontal with each other. Elbows remain under, forward position only, water, except the last stroke into the wall at turn or finish. So what that's talking about, this is a good example of that. They're coming forward, recovering, to do their next stroke. The elbows are still in the water. This doesn't come up very often, but their elbows can't come totally out of the water when they're recovering like that. That's what that's talking about. Hands shall not go below the waist. This we could put a little asterisk about. Let's be realistic about that too. Except during the first stroke on the start or the turn. And what that's talking about is I'm doing my stroke. When I'm doing my breaststroke, I'm coming down like that and I'm recovering. What I for sure can't do is, do a glide like that. Now my hands are below the waist. There's a little bit of a gray area. I'm doing this exact same thing, but my hands kind of come like that. Is that below the waist or not? And you want to be really careful with that. They really need to be gliding or very clearly below the waist for that to be a DQ. So hands should not go below the waist. and we'll come back to start and turn. Leg motion must be simultaneous, so I'm doing my frog kick. They have to be moving at the same time. Okay, so the frog kick must be at the same horizontal plane with the feet turned outward during the propulsive part of the kick. So they're doing that frog kick, and they got the feet have to be turned out, and they're doing the frog kick. That's the main thing. They can't do dolphin. They can't do scissor. They got a frog. They've got to be simultaneous and on the same horizontal plane. So simultaneous, so now I'm getting to the finish. It's a two-hand touch on the turn and the finish. Same thing, at or above or below the water surface, just like we were talking about with butterfly. So it has to be a two-hand simultaneous touch. The head can be submerged after the last arm pull prior to the touch, provided it breaks the surface of the water at some point during the last complete or incomplete stroke cycle preceding the touch. So what that's getting at is that your head's supposed to break the water with each cycle. When you come into the wall like this, if your head happens to not be breaking the water, that's okay. It's during the cycle that the head has to be breaking the water, which it almost always does. It's okay for the feet, so I'm doing my frog kick. The frog kick doesn't have to be underwater. If a foot comes out of the water, that's not a DQ as long as they're just doing the horizontal frog kick motion and not going downward like a dolphin. So just because a foot breaks the water surface, as long as they're both doing the simultaneous on the same horizontal plane frog kick, you're okay. After the start and at each turn, one dolphin kick is permitted. Now they've jumped in, they can do one dolphin kick anytime prior to the first breaststroke kick. Complete body undulation is considered a dolphin. So when they jump in, they're allowed to do one dolphin kick while they're cruising along on their glide underwater, and they're allowed to do one pull. And that's the very first pull that they're doing underwater. Their hands can go down by their side on that very first pull when they're underwater. Then my next stroke has to bring me to the surface. And the rule around that in general is that as I'm doing that stroke, it's okay if I'm not at the surface yet, but as I pull, once my arms get to that furthest part and now they're coming back in, I have to have broken the surface of the water by that time. So in general, they pull that second stroke and they break the surface, and that's legal. So there's the order sequence. I'm doing the butterfly. When I come into the wall, the transition turns has to comply with the finish rules. So when I'm doing the butterfly, I've got to touch the wall as if it's a legal finish, to the breast, touching the wall. Then I can turn to the back, and when I leave the back, when my feet push off, I'm in the backstroke now. I have to be past vertical to the back. So now I'm coming on the back, I'm doing the breaststroke. I've got to have a legal backstroke touch, like a finish, before I turn to start the breaststroke. And then when I leave that breaststroke, when my feet leave the wall, I have to be to the breast. And then the rules of breaststroke, take over. Freestyle and medley relays for individual swimmers, medley relay order. This is important for both IM and the medley relay. With freestyle, when I'm doing the individual freestyle, I can do whatever I want to with my strokes. But that's not true for IM and for the medley relays. If I'm doing the free stroke leg, I can do anything I want to other than the backstroke, breaststroke, or butterfly. Stroke rules apply to each swimmer. Relay exchanges out of the blocks. The next swimmer can be in motion before the touch. So it's different than a false start. I'm watching my guy come in. I can, I can be taken off. The only rule is the next swimmer's feet cannot leave before the prior swimmer touches. If I can do any kind of motion I want, as long as my feet haven't left before the touch, I'm okay. Very different from the false start rules. Okay, and this is the key thing for us as stroke and turn judges. To make it easy on us, we're gonna watch the feet leave. And when I see that foot leave, then I'm gonna look down and see that the touch happened. The little guys, they don't leave in the blocks, they leave, they're in the water, and they're gonna leave, as the swimmer comes in, they're in the water and they take off. This is important. We did it last year, but that was the first year of doing it. The next swimmer starts in the water with one hand holding on, touching on the side. The next swimmer, the same thing like in the block. They can be in motion before the touch comes in. The key is it's from hand to hand. So the next swimmer's hand leaves the wall, that's when a touch has to have occurred. If their hand leaves the wall before a touch occurs, then that's what the DQ is on the in water starts. And the same thing, you're going to watch the hands leave first and then look to verify the touch. 2 notes I want to add. The same thing with the dolphin kick, about they don't have to be in the same plane. They don't have to be right side by side either. They can be apart, but but they're going like this. As soon as they're side by side and they do that motion out, now that's the problem. They've moved out like that instead of the up and down dolphin kick. So number 1, and then number 2 on the, I just want to point out on your DQ slips you're going to see about the relay exchange, there's a box for all 4 swimmers, which one left the wall early. We're not judging the false start, so we're not going to check the first box because they left the wall early. It's only the second swimmer that's our relay exchange. Did the second swimmer leave early? Guys, thank you so much. Y'all are doing important work. Thanks for being here.